U.S. aircraft carriers may be in danger. Tucked away in the Taklamakan Desert of northwestern China, full-scale mock-ups of these carriers are being used for target practice. To prevent the possible loss of its crown jewel, the $13 billion USS Gerald R. Ford, the U.S. Navy has decided to equip it with the most powerful laser weapon ever developed. Let's find out what it is. The $13.3 billion USS Gerald R. Ford is the largest and most expensive warship ever to sail. It boasts a sprawling 5-acre flight deck and new technologies designed to make it the most powerful ship in the world well into 2050 and beyond. The vessel holds 4 squadrons of fighters and a bevy of support and tactical aircraft, more than 60 in all, though it can accommodate as many as 90. Ford stands more than 9 stories above the waterline and weighs 97,000 tons. That's 32,000 tons heavier than the largest battleships of World War II. But big doesn't mean slow. Powered by a pair of advanced A-1B nuclear reactors, the ship has nearly 3 times the power of America's existing supercarriers, about 300 megawatts of electrical power in all, according to the Navy. Seeing it on the water is like watching a New York City block go by at 34 miles per hour. But new anti-ship missiles from China, some capable of hypersonic speeds above Mach 5, threaten to render Ford and the Navy's entire Pacific Fleet obsolete. A sobering Congressional Research Service report, updated in August 2022, points to concerns about the survivability of Navy surface ships in potential combat situations against adversaries, such as China, that are armed with large numbers of UAVs and anti-ship missiles, including advanced models. While Russia also has hypersonic weapons, China worries the Navy the most. The country has aggressively increased the size of its naval fleet over the past decade and has developed several anti-ship weapons, including highly maneuverable hypersonic missiles capable of reaching Mach 10. China doesn't hide the fact that these weapons are designed to fend off American ships. One of its weapons test sites, tucked away in the Taklamakan Desert, has full-scale mock-ups of U.S. aircraft carriers that it uses for target practice. The USS Ford and ships like it have a battery of anti-missile defenses, but none are capable of protecting them in a prolonged battle against China's latest weapons. To maintain its dominance in the Pacific, and just to keep its ships afloat, the Navy is betting big on a new technology that has been out of reach for decades: the laser. The advantages are tantalizing. Powered by a large fuel source, Ford's hulking nuclear reactors fit the bill. Lasers fire at the speed of light, negating the speed of hypersonic weapons. They can be reloaded quickly to fend off swarms of drones, and they don't require ammunition stores, giving ships nearly unlimited firepower. In 2021, the Biden administration formed a Pentagon task force to assess the threat posed by China's rapid naval expansion. A year later, based on the task force's findings, the Defense Department declared China America's most consequential strategic competitor. China now has a fleet of more than 770 naval, Coast Guard, and other military vessels. That's more than twice the size of the U.S. fleet. And it's almost entirely concentrated in the Pacific, while the U.S. fleet is split between the Atlantic and Pacific. China's strength is also bolstered by an arsenal of advanced anti-ship weapons that it can launch from ground bases, warships, and aircraft. The most powerful are its long-range missiles, such as the DF-21D and DF-26, but the most fearsome is the DF-ZF, a hypersonic missile that reportedly can reach speeds of Mach 10 and strike from more than 1,500 miles away. But China's hypersonic weapons aren't the only threat. Carrier commanders have long understood their vulnerability to batteries of anti-ship cruise missiles. Fired in large numbers, the weapons can overwhelm a ship's defenses. Swarms of relatively cheap, long-range suicide drones could just as easily cripple a carrier group. The Navy's predicament is clear. Its largest carriers and most heavily armed destroyers aren't equipped to defend against hordes of airborne invaders. Today, the USS Gerald R sails with what's called a carrier strike group, an armada of 10 or more cruisers, destroyers, and frigates, and sometimes a submarine or two. At least 2 of these ships specialize in air defense, usually Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers. These ships provide the first layer of protection against enemy attack, using powerful onboard radars to detect targets more than 200 miles away. The ships are armed with surface-to-air missiles, and the Navy's Phalanx C IWS, close-in weapons system, which operates radar-guided 20mm 6-barrel Gatling guns that fire 4,500 rounds per minute. They're almost identical to the massive cannons fired by American fighter jets, such as the F-16. All told, a carrier strike group has enough hardware to intercept dozens of incoming missiles from as far away as 200 miles. But it becomes defenseless once the ships run out of interceptors to fire, which must be stored and then replenished after battle. Some ammunition can be replenished at sea, but missiles must be refueled in port. The Pentagon calls this a depth of magazine problem, something enemies can exploit with swarming attacks. The best defense against swarming drones, the Pentagon believes, is photons released by highly agitated atoms. Unlike the blasters in Star Wars, laser beams don't explode when they hit a target. Instead, they deliver intense heat. At low power, lasers can confuse a drone's optical sensors. Increase the power, and a laser will burn a hole through it. In essence, lasers turn energy into ammunition. Powered by nuclear reactors like Ford's, they can potentially fire thousands or even tens of thousands of times at incoming munitions. And because laser beams travel at the speed of light, lasers can track and target unpredictable weapons like China's hypersonic DF-ZF better than conventional missiles. Gunners won't have to guide a target and anticipate its location the way they do now. The Pentagon also likes their low cost. The Congressional Research Service estimates that it costs between $1 and $10 to fire a high-powered laser, just a fraction of the millions that defensive missiles cost. In 2014, the Navy installed the first laser on a ship for sea trials. Mounted forward on the deck of the amphibious transport ship USS Ponce, the 33-kilowatt AN/SEC-3 laser weapon system, LAWS, has a short, round, white-painted firing tube. 2 smaller tubes for sensors rested on its shoulders. To an untrained eye, it looked like an amateur astronomer's telescope. But even this early, low-power version delivered impressive firepower. A second, more powerful laser began testing in 2019, and in August 2022, the Navy installed its first permanent laser on a destroyer, the Arleigh Burke-class Preble. The weapon, developed by Lockheed Martin, has a 60-kilowatt output and is integrated with the ship's advanced Aegis radar and weapons control system. The Navy calls it Helios, or high-energy laser with integrated optical dazzler and surveillance system. Later versions could be even more powerful. Lockheed Martin says the weapon could eventually scale up to 150 kilowatts. But even at that level, it will be most useful against drones and small surface ships. To stop a barrage of cruise missiles or a hypersonic weapon barreling toward Ford at Mach 5 or faster, the Navy needs something much more powerful. To defeat cruise missiles, the Navy estimates it needs at least a 300-kilowatt laser. In addition to the size and speed of those missiles, their nose cones are made of materials such as pyrolytic graphite or pyroceram ceramics, designed to withstand the intense heat of supersonic flight, which can exceed 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Lasers will have to fire with enough intensity to rapidly burn through those heat-resistant materials. They also need enough power to overcome the effect of atmospheric turbulence on the laser. Finally, they need to quickly identify the precise target point on an incoming missile traveling at 1 mile per second in order to take it out. That weapon appears to be on its way. The Navy plans to begin testing a 300-kilowatt weapon later this year, calling the experimental weapon Hellcap for High-Energy Laser Counter ASCM program. A 2020 photo of a wallboard behind Chief of Naval Operations Admiral Michael Gildan appears to show that the Hellcap testbed will be based on the Navy's existing ANSCQ-4 Optical Dazzler Interdictor, or ODIN, system, which is already in use on some destroyers. If successful, the platform will be the Navy's first laser capable of shooting down incoming anti-ship cruise missiles. Even Hellcap won't be enough to stop hypersonic missiles flying at speeds up to Mach 10. Those weapons are manufactured to withstand temperatures of 1,700 degrees Fahrenheit or hotter. The Pentagon believes it may take a 1 megawatt laser, more than 3 times the power of Hellcap, to stop them. But megawatt-class lasers may not be too far off either. The Navy awarded a contract to Northrop Grumman to develop such a laser, and in July 2022, the company completed a preliminary design of a high-energy laser that combines several laser beams into one powerful ray. Northrop said it will initially develop a prototype with up to 300 kilowatts of power, but that the technology may allow it to scale up the power to 1 megawatt. For the Pentagon, which has billions invested in aircraft carriers, the technology can't arrive soon enough. Given the rapid emergence of China's anti-ship weapons, warships like Ford are more vulnerable than they have been in 80 years. The fate of the world's most powerful navy could be decided by a single, well-aimed, hypersonic shot. But no matter how fast or powerful anti-ship missiles become, the Navy hopes its futuristic lasers can burn them out of the sky for less than the cost of a cup of coffee. And what do you think about these laser weapons? Which one do you like the most? Let us know in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos. And thanks for watching.